Good morning and happy Thursday. Thank you for being here. I'm Elana, and we are on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network TV podcast, #1 Internet Talk Network. I'm Elana, your host with your health vibes, with the one, the only Elana. My journey is to raise your heart, body, and soul vibes to the next level so you can transform your life today. And today, and if you want to get a hold of me, call me 562-235-8410. Yourhealthvibes.com is the website, or ef11ca@gmail.com. And today, our topic is the courage of letting go, navigating life's challenges with the one, the only, my sister, my real sister, the one who knows me the most, who knows all my secrets.
Yes, I do.
Don't tell anybody. My beautiful sister, Stefanie Feldman. Woo! Thank you, sister, for being here. I feel so privileged and so honored to have you on today, and just grateful for what you're able to share and open up. And the world is so lucky to have you here today, as so am I.
Oh, thank you so much, sis. I'm like, I didn't think I was going to cry. Like, you're going to start me off with tears.
Right?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on your podcast. And we've had so many intimate conversations, just one-on-one and together, but to be able to share them with the world and with everybody else makes me really excited. A little nervous, I'm not going to lie.
And that's okay. And that's what I want to share. We're all nervous. We all show up, and thank you for admitting that, showing up authentically of what's going on. Of course, it's scary. Of course, we never know what's going to go on, but this is authentic. This is great. And that's why I want you on here, because you're real, raw, and you tell the truth of how it is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. This topic really spoke to me about the courage of letting go and moving forward through life's difficult challenges, as these past few years have definitely brought on a lot of challenges for me, a lot of unexpected twists and turns. And I've learned a lot of really important, really challenging lessons that have sort of brought me to where I'm at today.
Great. I'm so excited and happy for you to be able to share, and hopefully, people will be able to relate. So anybody who has any questions or anything, please, there we go. Slow down. If anybody has any questions or things, please feel free to reach out to us. And, Steph, I know that these past 2 years have been quite a lot, and just how you're showing up, how you're navigating, how you're having the courage to let go. Maybe could you start us off and kind of with your journey and where you're at now? And, I'd love for you to tell the story.
Yeah. Thank you. And again, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, sister, for having me on. So to get things started, I've been really trying to rack my brain about where to even begin. There's so much to talk about and so many things to put in this short podcast and time that we have together today. So I thought I would go back really quickly to give a preface back to 2015, where this sort of journey started. I went to my first Burning Man, which is about to happen in a couple of weeks, changed my life, and I met a man there. We fell hard. We fell really quickly for each other. And instantly I was in a relationship. We were very much in love, long distance. But sometimes when things happen so quickly, they burn really quickly too. So about a year later, we broke up, and there was some mental health challenges that were going on that I didn't understand at the time, and I didn't really know what was going on. And so, yes, we broke up, didn't talk for 2 years, ran into each other 2 years later in 2018. And sure enough, slowly started getting back together. And in this process, I found it was really healing for me. I learned a lot more about what had happened to him. And despite, my family and some friends being concerned about going through. I know, Elena, thank you. You were always very supportive.
Number one cheerleader.
Yes, Elena supported me no matter good and bad decisions. She's there for me.
That's what sisters do.
Yeah. Very grateful for Elena, and I'll get into that as well. But I don't want to harp too much on this story, but we got back together, and this was 2018. So then about a year later, I started a new job. I changed my career, which I was very excited about, nervous about. So I'm in a new job. I'm dating this man. We're getting closer. And then about 7 months later, the pandemic hits. And we start going through that together. And the beginning of the pandemic, it brought us even closer. It was like once the outside world was shut off, we got really close. And then we ended up fostering a senior dog named Maggie, and ended up adopting that dog. So that was something that I was scared to do on my own. So I was excited to have someone to do it together.
Now, let me kind of stop.
Sure.
Thank you for really being vulnerable and sharing that. So with the pandemic, did you feel sometimes like it sped up stuff, or you wanted to do more, or maybe kind of engage of like, you guys got the dog and, things really connecting together? Did you feel it brought you closer because of the pandemic and whatnot, and kind of navigating through that? Do you feel you were forced to make a quicker decision due to the pandemic, or kind of like what's your choice?
Yeah, definitely. I think it forced us to have to make decisions that were going to make us feel comfortable. It was a scary time, and I was grateful to have him to go through it with. We did adopt the dog, and our relationship moved even faster. We essentially moved in together. He moved in with me, and I live in a small but wonderful space that I've been at for years. And being locked in together and not really being able to see friends, like having those different challenges brought us closer until it didn't. And until things started throughout 2020, things started getting more difficult. We started fighting more. There was so much more going on that brought on new challenges to a relationship. And the beginning of 2021 was where things really started getting difficult. And so as 2021 continued, we continued to fight for our relationship. However, about 6 months in, or 5-6 months in May, I started to see similar signs of some mental health challenges. And in not understanding what had happened the previous time, I wanted to make sure that I was there for him this time.
Right. And I'm just going to try to pipe in a little bit just for a second. Mental health is such a big thing right now. And just talking about it and opening up and things like that and truly understanding. In this, did it force you to really open up more about mental health, wanting to learn more about it? Because I feel we're so afraid to reach out, or, everybody looks and judges like, hey, you're in the best mood. You're always happy. You're always this. And in all this, talking about mental health, I just want everybody to know that it is okay to reach out. It's okay to ask for help, and there's no judgment, and to speak up, because we don't speak up enough, and you're not alone. So I just want you guys to know that mental health is such a big thing, and it really affects someone. And thank you for sharing this, because I feel too many times people feel alone and aren't open up and are afraid to say, I'm upset, or afraid to say I'm going through this, and then suffer. So I don't want anybody to suffer or feel that. So thank you. I just wanted to pipe in a little bit about how important mental health is and what the effect it has on people.
Absolutely. Mental health and seeing someone that I loved and cared so much about. I deal with my own mental health. I deal with anxiety and things. It's become manageable, but seeing someone that I loved go through something so difficult, and there was nothing that I could do. I felt sort of helpless. And it was scary, and it was challenging. And essentially at that time in our life, then the relationship, no matter how much I tried to want to make it work and be there for this person, he was having such a difficult time that I didn't recognize the person that I was with anymore. And that started the end of our relationship.
And how did that make you feel? Like if someone's going through this, do you have any kind of tips or pointer to kind of get you through? Or, I mean, now realizing being out of it, it's kind of hard at the time when you're going through this.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could say or that you would change, or maybe give someone some advice? Like if anybody's going through this right now, what are some words of wisdom that you have for them?
Yeah, something that I learned in the first and the second time that we were together was to not forget to take care of yourself. That was something that I was so focused on the other person that I sort of lost myself, and which caused even more anxiety. And I think really the best and only way that you can truly be there for somebody is to make sure that you're in a good place as well. And granted, it's, you know, every day is different. There's no perfect point to be at, but
100%.
just making sure that you check in with yourself, making sure that you don't forget that you are also important, and putting that energy and the effort that you put into someone else, make sure that you continue to put it into yourself. And, you know, at that time I felt helpless. It was really scary. And but I remember, so the way we broke up is I received a text very early in the morning, and I woke up to a breakup text that just really didn't see. I could tell something wasn't right, something was off. But and the topic of today of letting go and moving on, I couldn't respond to that text for 10 days. I sat on it.
Yeah, I remember that. And how did that, you know, make you feel by texting, having such like an intimate relationship with someone and everything like that? What did that feel like? Like, did you feel, as you're saying, you didn't know that person? Like what was your emotion? What was your thought? What, you know, with all that? And hi, Jay, thanks for joining.
Oh, hi, Jay. It was overwhelming, because I was like, how is this happening again? I tried so hard to make things work. I tried so hard to like want to make this person feel loved and to make them feel, you know, to do whatever I could to make the relationship last, because I was scared of the pain that I would have to go through and in the process of letting go. However, looking back, I learned that by letting go, by responding to that text and saying, yes, I agree, it is time to move on, it didn't mean that I didn't love him. It didn't mean I didn't care anymore. And it didn't mean I gave up or I failed. It meant that like I had to choose myself at the end of the day, which was the most important and challenging lesson that I went through.
100%. And I think too, what I've learned as well through all this stuff of things, you can love someone, but love them from afar. You know, if someone may not be the right person, you can have that love, but that doesn't define the relationship. It doesn't define things of what it is. I think you can truly love and give, but you're so right. Unless you love, you have to care enough to love, which I always say, love sometimes can be abused. And I love you. If you love me, you're going to do this and that. It's not about that. It's caring enough to love yourself, to give that back to someone else as well.
Exactly. Love is not conditional.
Right.
Love is shown in so many ways and forms. And you're right. I had to learn that like, just because we weren't together as a couple, it didn't mean that I couldn't still love him and care about him as a human being, because I did. And I will always have that love for what we went through together. However, I had to choose myself. I had to move forward, because I had stopped doing that for so long. And it was scary and it was challenging. And I remember I had a therapist years ago when I was going through another smaller breakup. And they essentially said that, they asked me, they said, and because I was debating whether I break up or try to make it work. And they were like, well, listen, you could either, you know, continue to have a little bit of pain as you go, or you could have like that will last for a long time, or you can go through this really difficult thing, but then allow yourself to start to heal. So yes, it is harder, and you feel the hit even harder, but then you're able to come back to yourself and to really sort of move forward.
Right. And with that, I know things kind of started to spiral. So after the breakup, certain things kind of evolved, and it really kind of started going, not necessarily I would say downhill, but there were some pretty intense and serious things. If you would like to kind of share what led after the breakup and kind of where you're at today.
Yeah. So so that was the backstory of that person. And then, so 4 months after we broke up, we had no communication. And until, about 4 months later, I received a text from him, and it still, something just seemed off. And I reached out to a mutual friend, gave me some more information. And then about a week after that text, I received one of the most difficult phone calls I think I've ever heard. And we can't cry because you're gonna make me cry.
But I'm always the crier. So
I know.
I'm gonna be strong.
So it's like whenever I think back to this moment this day, it always is like, I can speak about it more now. This was about 2 years ago. So I received a phone call that the person that I was in a relationship with had suddenly and tragically and unexpectedly passed away. And I immediately just like went into shock. It's so hard to understand. I remember that night I called you, called mom, and you guys were like, let me come over. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I was not fine.
She was not fine. And P.S. even if someone says they're fine, go to them. Show up, because sometimes people don't know what they want or what they need. And sometimes you need to just show up. And that's what I did for her. You show up. You show up because that's what you do.
Yeah, so that was a wild night that I had. I think I tried to call a psychic. I went on like a relationship. I didn't know what to do. I was talking to random people on Facebook. Like I was in such a state of shock. And you're right. I think for me, the next morning, because I had told a neighbor as well, a few friends just showed up at my door, and I didn't tell them to. And it was such a wild thing. And I knew, it's like as a few days sort of settled in, I knew that my life was going to change forever.
Right.
I knew that this was going to be the start of a very long journey. I remember Elana came up. She came over. I couldn't move. Something we did when we were kids all the time.
We had really sidetracked. We had our own rooms, but we loved to sleep together in a twin bed. And I didn't like making the bed, so I made her keep it tucked in. FYI.
She did. And she would always tell me to spoon her first, to do it for 5 minutes, and then she would do it. And sure enough, she would fall asleep. And I would never get to be the little spoon. But
the chair from Grandma Sylvia.
Yeah. So Elana came up. I was like in a state, I was in shock. I was numb. Elana had to shower with me. I couldn't move. I remember I had to call a friend to ask her to remind me to brush my teeth. I just couldn't understand what was happening. I had never experienced something like this in my life. And still to this day, it was one of the hardest things I think I've ever experienced. And my life has been different. Something I say that I learned is I felt like there was this sort of veil that was lifted up over my eyes. Like I see life completely different now and forever. And I don't wish anyone to go through the pain that I did. However, life will continue to throw difficult challenges and difficult things.
And to add on to more of that, through all this process, I'm so proud of you for sharing your story. I'm so proud of you for showing up, because this is hard and you can do hard things. And, people say, do time, it's good. Time doesn't take away the pain. It may make it easier to navigate, but in reality, we all have our own, the way we deal with life and things like that. So I'm so proud of you, how you are navigating through this, because it's so difficult. But the fact that you're letting go, the fact that you're having that courage to show up says so much about you and who you are, and not defining you. I'm so proud of you that you're not making this your story. This is not who you are to define that. And we're going to have to take a break in about 30 seconds, but kind of want to lead into the next thing, with that being your first loss. You had talked about adopting a dog together, and the journey of that. And when we get back, you'll hear the rest of the story of that. Get up, shake what your mama gave you, get some water. You're listening to Your Health Vibes with Elana. We will be right back. Come on down. You're listening to WGSN Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet talk show with Elana and Stefanie.
Hello. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you soon. And we're still
Hi
here.
everybody, I just wanted to
Yeah,
thank
still
Barry
here.
Kroger,
If you think of any
our sponsor for
questions-
the show today, founder of Jazz Angels, which preserves jazz in underserved areas. He's helped over 3,000 kids. Thank you, Barry. And if you want to contact and find out more info, you can check the website at jazzangels.org or contact Barry directly at barry@jazzangels.org. Thanks so much, Barry.
Hi, I'm John Thomas. I want to share with you a professional products and services directory we call Going Solo Directory. And you need to check this out. If you want exposure to your business or are seeking professional product or services, this directory has it all. And that membership, for the many special features, you get the benefit of a worldwide exposure with a 40-minute video interview on an international business show showcase. All this for just one low annual fee. For more information, contact GoingSoloDirectory.com.
Hello and welcome back. I'm the host, Elana of Your Health Vibes with Elana. Welcome back. Our topic is the courage of letting go, navigating life's challenges with my sister, Stefanie. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you got a shake what your mama gave you, got a good stretch, and ready for this beautiful second half of our podcast.
Well, thank you again for having me. So this part of the podcast, I want to really talk about certain tools and things that I did to help move forward. This podcast definitely goes by faster in time than I had thought. So yeah, Elana had left off about Maggie. So having Maggie.
And really fast, Maggie, that you adopted.
Maggie was the dog that we had
2 seconds.
adopted during the pandemic.
Together with your.
Yeah, with my
Okay.
ex. Yeah. And so, so thank goodness that I had her. It was hard though. I had to learn how to take care of this being all by myself. And, but thank goodness for her. She forced me to get up, to go outside, which is something I encourage everyone to do, no matter if you have a pet or just when you're going through a difficult time. Get up, go outside, get some fresh air, get some sunshine, walk and move your body.
Right. Moving your body, because we store so much. And I know it's hard, or like, even if you don't want to, even if you got up and put on your favorite song or did something to get that energy out and, feeling that. And with that, I'd like to kind of jump into kind of the next portion of this. After the tragic news and dealing with all of that, it happened to be our mom's birthday. and she really wanted to go away and had this really special trip already planned. Thank God that this was already planned of help, but she took us to an amazing self-healing resort called Miraval, and I'll let Steffi take it from there.
Yeah, so this was about 3 weeks after everything had happened, after I received that tragic phone call. And at this point, I wasn't really eating, kind of sleeping, like just really on a different planet. Really just, yeah, grief is a wild ride to be on. And the second that I got to Miraval, which is in Austin, Texas, I cried. I was just so happy that I made it there. And just to be able to be away, step out from what was happening. I'm so grateful that our mom brought us on this trip with her to celebrate her birthday. And this place was magical. It really sort of helped bring me back to life for a moment. It snapped me back in.
And let me to add to a little bit to how you're recovering after the break of sharing this. Can you give us some more tools and tips that, throughout, like this was one, and then maybe share some more stories of how you recovered from it?
Yeah. So Miraval, first of all, was it was a
magical thing ever.
It was an all you can eat thing. So I went from not eating to eating anything and everything that was in front of me. I think we ordered everything on the menu. It was very healthy, so it didn't feel as bad. But so it got me eating again. They also had a bunch of different activities that were really they forced you to dig deep, to think in different perspectives. On our first day, we walked through the forest barefoot and did some forest bathing. We did things like archery, yoga. I went to a grief counselor for my very first time, and she walked me through a labyrinth that just really taught me how to meditate and learn. And speaking of grief counselors, those were something.
Talk about that. That'd be great.
Yeah. So those were, I think, as I was going through everything outside of Miraval, I joined grief groups. I looked at all you can eat. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Buffy, you would love it.
I joined grief groups. I listened to every podcast, read every book, got so many tools I could, called a rabbi. I spoke and wanted to learn about death.
The rabbi was on our podcast. Yeah.
I wanted to learn about just anything I could to help me understand the pain and grief that I was going through, because in my mind, I'm always try to be a rational person. And for me, in order to get through something, I knew that the only way out of the pain I was feeling was through. And I had to get up and I had to move and I had to go through all these things. So in terms of talking about letting go and moving on, there was a really amazing activity that we did called Swing in a Prayer. And it was incredible. We basically had to, we got strapped in and we had to be lifted up really high. I don't really consider myself scared of heights. However, when I'm up high and I know I have to let go, it's terrifying, which is a great metaphor for life. And so Elana went first, fearless, got up there. So you go and you're holding on to the rope yourself, and it's your decision to when you're ready to let go. And when you let go, you're dropped about 20 feet and you swing back and forth.
I'm trying to find the video.
And so I don't know if you see the video on it, but and then my mom went, and I think I was one of the last to go. And this really was the first lesson for me in terms of letting go and moving on. And to preface that, I always felt uncomfortable with the term moving on. I had a hard time with it. I felt guilt for moving on. I felt that it meant.
I'm going to stop. What made you feel guilty? What, could kind of just stop and think. So many times we feel guilty for something. What was the guilt that maybe you could share that caused that anxiety, or what was the guilt in this?
Yeah, so I think the guilt that I had was that if I move on, that I was going to forget. It was, I had sort of survivor's guilt, if you will. And I felt bad, like if they're not alive, if they're not living, how can I keep moving on?
Right.
And I realized that it's not about forgetting, but not allowing that thing, that person, that experience hold you back from who you are
Mhm.
and where you were going. I for so long was living with his pain, with his
Right.
suffering that he had been going through.
Mhm.
And I felt that I had to do that in terms of honoring him. And so going back to this swing and a prayer, when I was up high holding on,
Right.
I sat there and I just meditated for a second and I took some deep breaths, and I was scared to let go for the feeling I would have.
Right.
But I also I had to just really think about what I did want to let go. Did I want to come back to myself? And this was the biggest lesson in learning to let go and learning to move on. And
Mhm.
so when I released that, I screamed at the top of my
I
lungs.
remember
I was
that, yeah.
terrified.
Yeah.
But it was the most magical experience. And it taught me that if you just allow yourself to let go, if you allow yourself to move on, letting go doesn't mean forgetting.
Right.
Letting go
And I
means-
think that's the biggest thing is people think that letting go, you're forgetting. So maybe you can kind of brief a little bit. I like that you say that we're not forgetting. It's just how to manage and deal with,
Yeah, letting go just means that you're choosing yourself again.
Beautiful.
You can still remember everything that brought you to where you were at. However, really just letting go and is choosing yourself. And I remember there was a time in the beginning where people would always ask me, how are you doing? How are you doing? And I found that I would think that I made other people uncomfortable. They wanted me to say, I'm good. I'm feeling better.
Right.
I'm back. And I had written this down. I wrote it down because this was something that I felt in the first few months, is that I think I struggled with telling people that I was anything other than sad, because I didn't want them to think that I was okay if I ever said I'm good or I'm fine. I wanted to have the space to still be sad.
Right.
And it was my best friend Tori actually told me, like, what you can say is that
Also understanding that grieving doesn't end, just evolves, and that's okay. You learn how to understand the various stages of grief and how that affects your life. So
Yes.
true, Buff.
Absolutely. And I learned that I just would tell people, I'm doing okay right now. At this moment, this is where I'm at. Because you're right, there's so many different stages of grief, and we don't have enough time to talk about all those things. But it really just, in order to move on, you have to trust yourself. You have to take that leap of faith. You have to let go of the rope and know
Right.
that it is going to be okay. I'm very lucky and grateful and blessed that I had such a strong support system of friends and family and resources all over the world to just sort of bring me back to myself, to where I can share this story with you all now.
And now going through all this, like if someone asks or roles are different, like, sharing to say, if someone says, how are you? It's okay to say, you know what, I'm not doing okay today. And that doesn't mean that, life is all these things. I think it's embracing that, being honest, being truthful. You know what, today I'm not okay, but tomorrow's going to move on. It's being real, being raw. But where do you think we get some of these things of why we're so afraid of, if I tell someone this or this, society, and then we write these stories, how do you get out of the story that we're so in?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I think that it's really just trusting yourself and not having to appease others. I am a, as I call it, recovering people pleaser.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, and I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about it. But the thing is, I need to talk about things.
Right.
And finding those people that will give you that space. And not everybody will be able to, and that's okay. You find the people that can be there for you. You find the ones that are willing to make the space and are able to support you in that journey. And until someone goes through something that you've gone through, people just genuinely don't understand.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that something that this has taught me is that I've learned how to show up for others, because I learned what I needed for myself. And it really, it taught me just how to be more courageous, how to take more risks, and then just really how to move forward.
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that and just see how far you come in the progress. And, it is a lot and it is scary, because sometimes I think the difference I talk it out. I'm always sharing my emotions and always doing it. I think it's hard to be vulnerable, hard to share where you're at, and you don't want to be judged. But I think the more that we're open, the more that we're honest, That's what I try to strive for, being authentic. And, what I am online, you're going to see offline. I want people to feel safe to come. And that's another thing to me, to be a voice, to say how you truly are feeling and ask for help when needed,
Absolutely.
So when you started to feel better, what are some more things that helped, or things that you want to do, or, things like that? I know Maggie really helped you through this, and, maybe you can share with that a little bit too, by having something.
Yeah.
We have about 5 more.
Okay. All right. So we got 5 more minutes. So I'm going to sort of wrap up some other important things that I want to share with everybody. So make a long story short, Maggie got really sick the end of last year, 2022. And that really, my life was, again, dedicated to her, taking care of someone. I sort of had to stop what I was doing to take care of this being that I loved so much. And she sadly got to a point where she was so sick that I had to set her free, which was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. And it was just, I still miss her every day. But I'm grateful for the time that I had with her. I truly call her my angel on earth. She was there for me at times that I needed. At times she forced me to get outside. She helped me take care of something else so that I could get out of my head and do that. And at the same time, my job was really, really stressful. It was the beginning of this year in January. I was in such a different place. I was so stressed. I was making myself sick between taking care of Maggie, trying to keep up with my job, and I just needed to breathe. So then 3 months after Maggie had passed, I made one of the most difficult yet most empowering decisions to leave my job. I left my job without anything lined up, which was terrifying, but I felt happiness in place that I had never felt in probably 3 years. I felt such joy. It was overwhelming. And I think that was really like the final chapter between the breakup, the death, losing Maggie, and the difficult job. I was able to finally close that. And everything that I had gone through taught me that life, like this is my life, and I wasn't living it. And it was time to make a life of my own choosing.
Right.
And I'm doing that now. And it's still scary at times, but I am so happy that I made the decision to take my life back, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think moving forward is so important for your mind, body, and soul.
And that's what I strive on with my business and things like that. It's all about the mind, body, and soul. And, and it doesn't define you as success of the job or here or there. If you're unhappy, if you are getting sick, if you are seeing a change in yourself, I love that you're finally seeing that and showing up for yourself. Like, this is not okay. This is not good for me, and reaching out. So I hope other people who are going through this, feel free to reach out. Feel free to talk. You can reach out to Stefanie. You can reach out to me. We're here. We've been through it, and just want to show that support as well. Also, just 1 or 2 things. I know you have a quote, and I'd like to maybe share a quote. So to kind of wrap things up, I'm just, Michelle, we're entering a time that feelings are finally being taken seriously and not to be swept under the rug. Mental health is incredibly important. And I agree. And Buffy has been an amazing support to me. And just thanks, Buff. Mom and Dad. Well, you might think that it's just Mom and Dad saying good things here. It really is amazing that Stefanie, you're opening up, and that Elana is also guiding through this. We are grateful to have 2 fantastic ladies, and know that you will continue to grow and do fabulous things in your life. We love you both to the moon. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
We love you.
Such an inspiration. You've been there so much. We're going to end with a quote. And if you guys need anything else, no, I honor you. I love you. I see you. And Throwback Thursday. Remember how much little Elana loves you. All right, so read your quote.
Just real fast, I want to just again reiterate how grateful I am for you, for Mom and Dad, and for everyone who's really helped me get through this journey.
Sorry, I would like to thank our sponsor, Jazz Angels, Barry Koger at jazzangels.org or Jazz Angels.
So a quote that I have from Maya Angelou is, "We spend precious hours fearing the inevitable. It would be wise to use that time adoring our families, cherishing our friends, and living our lives." And that couldn't be more true for where I'm at now. Think of your priorities, what is important to you, and make the time to be part of that in your life.
And remember, letting go, mental health, ask for help, be there. And I'm going to leave you with an affirmation. I'm infinitely blessed. Everything I touch turns into gold. My spirit has been reshaped and readjusted in multiple ways. I am a masterpiece in progress. I am in perfect alignment with my next steps. I'm ready for this new chapter. My soul has earned a clean slate. I'm claiming the health, joy, love, peace, money, and family. That's what I deserve. My future has never looked so much brighter. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, #1 network talk show host. Love you, Beth. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I'm Elana with your Health Vibes. This is Stefanie. Today we were talking about the courage of letting go, navigating life's challenges. Once again, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for showing up. I love you. And today, go put on your favorite song. Call someone. Tell them that you love them. What's something you want someone to do today?
Go dance.
Dance.
Put on a song and dance, whether it's by
Yeah.
yourself or with someone else.
Or dance naked, like I always like to.
Let it out. Shake it out.
Shake it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.